Apparently, Winnie has decided now is the time for pets. She keeps hitting me with her face, saying, I see you're currently available. Hi kids, welcome back to another pizza party. We are here to do yet another episode of, hey, you, ma'am, girl, lady, sir, do you ever read? Have you ever read? What even is Read? Which is a series where I read books that everyone else has already read. I don't know why I haven't read them. Am I even a reader? But here I am trying to catch up on books that everybody else loves and has read a way long time ago. It's been pretty hit or miss. I've had some hits, I've had some misses, but it's been a good time. And so we're going to keep it moving. The next book we are going to be picking up is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This is a sci-fi book having to do with some sort of cosmic bubble. I've seen the movie with Natalie Portman. And is it Oscar Isaac that's in it? But there is this thing called the Shimmer that these people go into. It's a metaphor for cancer. It's sci-fi. It sounds interesting. And a lot of people have really, really liked this book. It's not very big. I'm going to pick it up and see how I feel about it. And that is how we are going to start here today. I do not have an audiobook going right now, and I do not have an ebook going. So we're going to see what the library has available that is on theme with Girl, Why Haven't You Read It Yet? And just let the week happen, you know? It's 1,000,000 degrees outside, so we're probably going to be spending a lot of time inside. Cheese is right here. Can you see her butt? And Winnie's back there, and they're both doing lots of sleeps because the temperature is at 1,000,000. Stop hitting me. I will check back in with you when I've made some progress into this book, or maybe if I've picked up some others, you know? Maybe if I've decided to do some reading. I've reached about the halfway point in Annihilation, and I can kind of tell you what this is about a little bit.
But then we're going to watch the movie and talk about that too.
Yeah, we can watch the movie later. This is told from the point of view of a biologist who is on an expedition with a group of other scientists, and we are told we are reading the biologist's journal entries. So all of the people that are sent on this expedition have a journal that they are supposed to record their thoughts, observations, anecdotes, whatevers. And so we are reading the thoughts and observations of the biologist. In this story, we do not learn the name of any of the people on the expedition. All we know is that they are all women, and they are on this expedition to a place known as Area X. They don't really tell you where this place is located, only that it is a quarantined area that has been under the quote-unquote control of a government agency for a while. They are the 12th expedition to enter. All of the expeditions have had varying results and varying fates. And so we are now traveling into this strange area known as Area X with our group of people that we know little to nothing about. The biologist gives us little insights into who they are and their history, but again, we never learn the biologist's name. And so there is a surveyor, an archaeologist, a linguist, a psychologist, and a biologist, and they are all going in to do some unknown observation mission in some strange place known as Area X. We learn kind of a general layout of the landscape based on the biologist's knowledge of what the landscape is going to be like, and then we are traveling through the events that are going to happen. I think from the way that this is set up that all of this is being written after the events have occurred. So this is kind of a recounting of what happens. Area X is strange. And from the beginning, all of these characters, they didn't know each other prior to taking on this mission. So there's not a lot of camaraderie. If anything, there's a lot of suspicion, at least from the biologist's point of view, and things deteriorate quickly. This is very unsettling, is how I'll put it. I know this is supposed to be like a cosmic horror novel, and it is unsettling because of some of the descriptions of what we're seeing, what the biologist is encountering, what they're feeling, how they can't really trust their own eyes and ears in some of these situations, and they go into different reasons why that could be. It's unsettling. It's creepy. I think, successful in what's going on. And we've just gotten a revelation that kind of gives a little more backstory of who the biologist is at the halfway point. But nothing really deep is known about any of the other characters that this person is on a very dangerous mission with. Creepy, creepy, creepy. I'm really liking it so far. And it is different from the movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but having these different faces to put on the characters, because even though you're given like small descriptions of them, I have a picture in my head of what the psychiatrist looks like, what the surveyor looks like, what the anthropologist looks like. Very creepy. I'm liking it. So it's good. It's good. I've also decided for my audiobook, I am going to pick up Kindred by Octavia. Is it Octavia E. Butler? I know it's Octavia Butler. I don't know what the middle initial is. I think it is borderline a sin that I have not read anything from this author. She is quite beloved. The bare minimum that I know, and I've only listened to the prologue, which opens with a bang, is that there's going to be an involuntary time travel aspect to this. We have our main character who starts experiencing this involuntary time travel. That is all I really know going into it. Having read the prologue, they go into that this involuntary time travel, this event that is happening to her, is going to happen over a very short period of time in her life. And she is going to be injured quite severely during the course of this phenomenon that is happening to her. But it starts off with a bang. It starts off with a bang. You are immediately interested. You want to know what the heck happened to her. So I think I'm going to pick up that one on the audiobook. And hopefully I finish this one pretty quick because I've been able to fly through about half of it. All right. I need to go to work. I need to be an adult. But I'll check back in with you when I finished something. All right, so I finished a book. I finished Annihilation, and this creeped me the hell out. This was incredibly successful at being horror for me. I find that things that involve mold, mildew, plant life, creepy spores, and creepy plants, and just like natural horror is usually very successful for me. And obviously the biologist and all these scientists going into this quarantined area X, and dealing with the uncanny plant life, the just odd enough animal life, things are just slightly strange, just a little bit weird. Like if you look at it real quick, you might not notice how weird it is, but when you really focus on it, something is off. And that uncanny horror really works for me. I found this incredibly creepy. You are anxious the entire time. You are in the head of the biologist, who also is feeling paranoid about the people that are around her, feeling paranoid about the people that have sent her here. But she also has this eye, her scientific eye. The way she looks at things is very interesting because she's picking up details, looking at things. She wants to get down on the micro scale of looking at things. She likes to look at things in a very close, zoomed in type way, and kind of looking at these horrible things in a zoomed in type way, and then slowly kind of zooming out to the big picture is terrifying. I think this was incredibly successful. The horror elements to this worked for me. A lot of these things were both like beautiful and terrifying, and they're supposed to be like nature can be both beautiful and terrifying. This was really well done. This was a very beautiful, scary thing, and I absolutely enjoyed it. This is nothing like the movie, though. I mean, it is and it isn't. This is one of those times, I think this has a lot to do with it being as short as it is, having this as a jumping off point, the symbolism, the imagery, the metaphors, this as a jumping off point for the movie. The movie has to have more to it. It is longer. It is a visual media, so they got to make it their own. So if you've only ever seen the movie and you're interested in the book, you can read the book, and it's not really spoilers because it takes a completely different path. This doesn't necessarily have an incredibly satisfying ending. It just has an ending that makes sense for the story you're taking on. Annihilation. I liked it. I read it. I liked it. What more do you really need? And I have gotten about, I think it's like 20% of the way into Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. And I will say this is very straightforward and kind of quickly paced. I mean, we have moments where things slow down a little bit, but things are happening out of the gate and they just keep happening. The whole story itself is taking place in a very short period of time. And so there's not much lazing about. There's not much sitting on our feelings. We are moving. We are making moves the entire time. This is the story of Dana, and she is 26 years old. She's a 26-year-old Black woman living in the 1970s in California with her husband, Kevin. They have just moved into a new house when these strange things start happening to Dana. She starts experiencing these moments where she kind of gets dizzy, blacks out, and ends up time traveling. And she is time traveling back to the antebellum South in, I think it's like the early 1800s. The first time she gets pulled back, she encounters a young white boy who is in trouble. She saves him. Every subsequent time that she is pulled back through time, it is because this young boy, whose name is Rufus, is in danger. So she is somehow tied to Rufus, and these two people are connected through time. When he needs help, she shows up. This is a Black woman time traveling back to a time where it is a very dangerous time to be a Black woman. She's traveling back to one of the most dangerous places she could be traveling back to, and horrible, horrible things are going to happen. I just know. We've already had kind of instances where these people that we know are going to be the villains of the story, because how can they not be? But that they've done things, they're just kind of careless about the horrible things they're doing at this point. It's such a nothing to them to like have a moment of violence, have an outburst of anger at someone that they don't even see as like a full person. And it's very infuriating and also very brutal. You're just going through this experience of this involuntary time travel. And our character not only is trying to be smart about this by preparing, knowing that this might happen, trying to set up a story that will help keep her safe, trying to survive in these situations that she is just not equipped for, but she is trying her best to be proactive. She knows that she is going to be time traveling, and she's trying to set herself up for survival. Not even success, just survival. You are so nervous for her from the beginning because brutal things immediately start happening. And I know that the violence is just going to escalate. But the writing itself is very straightforward. This is very, I hate to say easy to read. The things that are happening are brutal, but yet like the writing itself is very straightforward. You just kind of get into it and start going, and it's not wrapped in a lot of flowery language or purple prose. It's good, but I am so scared for our character, for what's going to happen. I'm so nervous, and you're supposed to be, because of the brutality starting in the very beginning. You know it's only going to escalate. You know that this is only going to get worse. Our character is in a situation that is incredibly dangerous for her, and so your anxiety starts to climb every time she starts being pulled into the past. But I'm liking it so far. But now that I finished Annihilation, I need to pick up another physical book, and I don't know what I'm going to pick up yet. I'm going to look through Kindle, see if there's anything that kind of fits the criteria of, girl, why ain't you read this yet? And see if I can find anything that calls to me in the moment. So far, this has been going really well, though. Also, I feel like my voice has gotten even scratchier as this has gone along. I have leftover plane crud from being like on an airplane. You know how you just kind of get like congested after you've been on an airplane because human beings are disgusting and full of germs. And so I feel like my voice has gotten extra deep and raspy, which I hope you're enjoying. I feel like I'm sounding borderline like the villain character from the Casper movie from the 90s. Kerrigan? Was her name Kerrigan? Wow, did I just pull that deep out of my brain? Kerrigan Crittenton is the main antagonist in the 1995 Casper feature film. She is portrayed by Kathy Moriarty.
And snap, crackle, pop, you're back alive and on your way to the Riviera.
Oh. I'm losing my mind. I feel like I have Catherine Moriarty voice right now. All right, I'll check back in with you when I've decided what I'm going to pick up next. How about that? All right. First of all, we're here to talk about some books, but I want to do something first. I have just passed the 50% mark in Kindred. I would like to talk about it, but I would like to get actually a little bit further. And so what I've decided I'm going to do today, because I feel like it and I'm an adult and I can do what I want, is I'm going to make some oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. I don't know why, but I'm craving them. We are actually going to do the recipe on the top of the box or the top of the tube. Because it doesn't really come in a box, it comes in a tube. Also, if I'm a strange color, it is because I have my tanning stuff on right now, and I'm currently tanning, or as Mr. Pizza has decided we're going to call it, I'm currently staining myself, so that I don't look like a corpse all the time, because I can't go in the sunshine. We are going to make some oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, because that sounds absolutely delicious, and then when those are in the oven, we are going to chit-chat about some books. How does that sound? All right. Well, we've got less than a minute. I decided to clean up the kitchen instead of filming because I made a mess. I made a little mess. This is about to go off. This was poorly timed on my part, actually. I can tell you the book that I decided to pick up in less than a minute. I decided that the next book that I'm going to pick up in my Girl, What's Your Problem? Why haven't you read this yet? Is Guards, Guards, Guards by Terry Pratchett. I have already read 3 books in the Discworld series. I've thoroughly enjoyed every single one, but when you look at Reddit, fan threads, anyone that is a huge fan of this series and they're trying to tell you where to start, they tell you to start with either Mort or Guards, Guards, Guards. I have read Mort. I've read 2 of the books in the Witches series. I've read Equal Rites and Wyrd Sisters. And so why not pick up the book that everybody tells you is going to be your favorite in this series? I'm excited. These are funny, satirical leaning fantasy books that take place in this fantasy world. They're absolutely hilarious. I have a great time with them. And so I'm ready to pick up Guards, Guards, Guards. And I've got 3 seconds left before these cookies. There we go. Hold on. Okay, they need a couple more minutes. So I also have reached I think I'm at the 60% mark now of Kindred, and I'm enjoying it. It's very fast-paced. I don't even think that's the right way to put it. Everything is happening at just such a speed that it's not hard to keep up with, but it's just moving. Things are moving. Our character, Dana, who is traveling back and forth through time, the amount of time that passes for her when she's in her present day life is much less than what is passing in the past. Things have happened so far in the story that have now put characters in peril, and we have characters we don't know where they are. We are just watching this unfurl, knowing that it's going to end, well, from the opening of the book, you know it's going to end with our main character, Dana, injured, but you just know that there's going to be more collateral damage. This is just such a hard and brutal time, and even though we have these people that are our evil characters, they're not just evil for the sake of evil. There is a little bit of nuance to them, especially with, I hope Rufus doesn't end up being evil. Hold on, I gotta check on my cookies again. I have a feeling that Rufus is not going to end up being a great character just from some of the personality attributes and just who he is and where he is and how he's growing up and the influences around him. But you hold out hope that Rufus is not going to be complete hot garbage water. Making cookies while describing this book is it doesn't match. I'm going to continue listening to that on audiobook. I'm going to pick up Guards, which is much more cookie adjacent reading on my Kindle. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. At least I was able to get it on Kindle Unlimited. A lot of the Discworld books are available on Kindle Unlimited. And so I've been able to get really easy access to them, but I know not all of them are available on Kindle Unlimited. These cookies are about to come out of the oven and we're about to eat some and then we're about to read. I'm glad you've joined me for this. She almost didn't join me, but yet here she is. Breathing real heavy. Are you out of breath? All right, we are here because I finished Kindred. And final thoughts, I really, really enjoyed this. I feel like this was super surprising. Not that I wasn't expecting to enjoy it, but how the book works. I don't know how else to put it other than how the book works was very surprising to me. This story, for a while it eluded me how to describe this to people, and I kept saying it was brutal but not gruesome. I need you to stop hitting my hands. I know I have hands and you would prefer that my hands are petting you, but sometimes I'm doing other things. I know. You want to look at her? Maybe perhaps if she's being perceived by you. Hey, they can see you. Act right, okay? Oh, are we upset with me now? Look at that. I'm being shunned because I wasn't currently petting her. So I figured out the tone of this. It came to me while I was listening to this that the tone of this is actually very impactful because it is the tone of a survivor telling a story. Not necessarily that we are always kind of in the point of view of Dana, but the story itself is presented as the way a survivor would tell about a traumatic event. It is very straightforward. We are not spending time talking about the sounds of the leaves in the trees, the color of the sky. Instead, we are told about the brutal thing in a very straightforward way that gets across the impact of that moment. You kind of sit in it and then move on. The scene that really brought this home for me was there's a certain scene where a character is recounting he witnessed something incredibly brutal while he was in another place away from our main character and is relaying to this character, I saw really brutal things. Here's this instance. And it is a very straightforward, I saw this happen, and he describes the event in the way a survivor would. This is what happened. Absolutely horrible, horrific thing, but he's not describing the taste of blood, the creak of ropes. He doesn't spend time giving you details that someone that actually had a traumatic experience and was recounting it would. And that is how this story is told. It is very straightforward. You are given the brutality of what's happening, but you're not spending a whole lot of time living in the details, if that makes sense. It's really, really effective. I would say that you have no trouble picturing the environment these characters are in, picturing what people look like. It's not that there's lacking detail, it's just that this is very straightforward with some of these really brutal things that happen. Again, it's not grotesque, it's not gross. We don't spend a lot of time kind of trying to gross you out. You don't need to. For the impact of these incidents that are happening to this character in this time period or to some of the side characters, you don't need all of the description to really feel the impact. So the best example I've been giving to people when I talk about this book has been, there is one scene in particular which was very kind of pivotal to relationships in this story. And so the character basically says, he kicked me in the head. I blacked out. When I came to, I realized I was missing 2 teeth. It's kind of that kind of thing where it's these are the details of this happening. You don't need to know anything more. It's the point has gotten across. I really, really liked this. The ending was almost hard to read. There is an event that is going to happen. You are sitting in this moment with this character, and I actually had to pause the audiobook because you're hoping that it doesn't go the way it's going. You are desperate for this character to get out of this situation. It's a culmination of this thing that has been growing, that has been hinted at. You are terrified for our main character, and and you know from the very beginning of the book, she's going to sustain an injury, and that is going to be like the ending of this experience that she has been having. And so you know this is not going to go well, but you've finally gotten here. I really enjoyed this. I would definitely read more from this author. This is one of those books that I since I've finished it, I feel like I kind of just like randomly will think about. It kind of worms its way into your head, and you're just living your everyday normal life, and you're just like, God, that was brutal as hell, wasn't it? Really, really good. If you are at all interested, I highly recommend picking it up. I listened to the audiobook. I really enjoyed the audiobook and would definitely give a thumbs up to anybody who is thinking about picking it up. But now we're going to completely switch gears. We're going to talk about something silly, happy, and fun. I think I'm like 23% of the way into Guards, and I plan on picking it up this evening and hopefully getting a good chunk of the way through. But let me tell you what that story is about. So this is again a Discworld story taking place on Discworld, which is a world that is shaped like a disc that it lives on top of, I think it's like 3 elephants riding on the back of a turtle through the universe. These stories are very funny. There's a lot of sarcasm, satire. They're just a really good time. And so in this story, we have Carrot, and he is a young man who in the opening of this story is told by his father, who's a dwarf, and he's grown up in this mountain full of dwarves, that he is actually not a dwarf, which he probably should have figured out by now because he's over 6 feet tall, and everybody else is topping off at like 5 foot, but he is informed that he was found as a child and raised by these dwarves as their own, but hey, sir, you're a human. I don't know how you didn't realize this. And so one thing you should know about dwarves is they're incredibly straightforward. They don't really understand sarcasm, and they take everything at face value. There is no nuance. They take everything literally. And so Carrot has grown up in this world where everything is taken literally. And he is told that he needs to go off into the human world, be with his own kind. And so there is an arrangement made with his father and an official in another city for him to join the Night Watch. Now, he is told this is a very prestigious position. He's given a book of rules and heads off to join the Night Watch in this city. It's a very large city, but we had visited this city in other Discworld books. It's got its own very interesting way of operating, and it's quite silly, but it's a lot of fun. So there's a thieves guild, there's an assassins guild, there's all of these things that exist within the city, but they all do so under certain strict rules and regulations. There is no crime aside from the crime that's been legally approved of ahead of time. It's a funny place, and so we have Carrot showing up for the Night Watch, which the Night Watch, we learn very quickly, is not this prestigious position that it used to be generations ago. It's, I think, 3 or 4 guys, one of whom is in charge, and he's constantly intoxicated, and they just kind of walk around existing. They don't really actually enforce any laws. It sounds like they might be breaking some of their own. This group has fallen from being the epitome of law enforcement to now just kind of being this joke that walks around and rings a bell and tells everybody what time it is. Carrot arrives, all 6 feet and a couple inches of him, ready to set the city straight and be the most law-enforcing Night Watch that there ever was. We also simultaneously have this story going on where we have this secret society that is trying to do something. There's a lot of mystery in what's going on there, but our Master Supreme, whatever his name is, the guy that's leading the secret society, seems to have gathered around him all of these unsuspecting, not so smart people who are helping him in some nefarious plot that he is trying to bring to fruition. And so he has got these people running around doing things to try and make his dreams come true, where Carrot has arrived in the city at the same exact time that these things start happening. This is really fun and funny and exactly what I thought I was going to be getting. And I'm pretty sure dragons are going to show up, so I'm excited about that as well. It is a very overcast day. It's another very overcast day and an overcast week that we are expected to have. So hopefully I get some reading done today, and I'll check back in with you when I've finished up Guards. It is most likely incredibly foggy. the dogs wanted to be outside for a minute, so we're going to be outside for a minute. I am here to close out this vlog because I have finished Guards, and I absolutely loved it. No surprise here. This final thoughts is just stinking heartwarming. It is so funny and clever and witty and silly. It plays with tropes, it plays with stereotypes, but it's never predictable. It's a good time following Carrot and Nobby and is it Colin and Vimes? Basically, the main characters of this story are all of the characters that make up the City Watch, and they all are very distinct characters with different levels of chivalry, but they're all so funny and fun, and they all, in their own sometimes reluctant ways, want to be the good guys. And there are dragons and secret societies and just so many fun times. Absolutely loved the dragons in this, honestly. I highlighted so many things while reading this because there were so many things that just had me giggling. Sir Terry Pratchett is an absolute magician with words. And I will say, having read some of the other books before this, which I'm glad I did, even though a lot of people tell you can start here, there was a joke. There were several things that I picked up on that were slight nods, slight Easter eggs to other books. But there was one joke in particular that I got immediately and had me smiling like a fool at the book, at the Kindle, I should say, because I instantly knew the joke. And I mean, the joke was immediately explained, but it just hit that much funnier because I knew the joke as soon as I read. He's just really good at his job. And I don't think I'm the first person to say this. I really love this entire series. It's so silly without being like frivolous. It's fun. It's heartwarming. It's happy. You have a good time. You smile like a weirdo the entire time you're reading it. And I can't wait to continue on with this series. They're literally the dogs I think are in the garden. I really just want to read different quotes from this book constantly to people. I was trying to read them to Mr. Pizza and I was cackling to myself and it just wasn't working because he wasn't getting it. I was laughing so hard I couldn't get some of these quotes out and he's just kind of looking at me like, okay, I'm glad you're having a good time. But that, kids, was a very, very successful reading vlog. I'm really glad that I found some really great books. I absolutely don't know what my problem is that it took me this long to read these, but I had a great reading time. I'm hoping that I've inspired you to pick up some of these books as well because they were just so much fun. But that, kids, is where we are going to end this reading vlog. I hear cheese in the garden for sure. I hope you had a fun time hanging out with me and the dogs, and if you did, please subscribe. I hope you're reading good books out there wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.